Hello, welcome back to my series in Factorio, in which I am attempting to build my very first mega factory. My name is Azrael. Come along with me as we continue our adventure. Now, one of the things that I did in the last episode was I had to take a good long look at my steel production because it is comically underpowered for the factory that I have that depends upon it. So one of the first things I want to do is set up a better smelting area for steel. But first I'm heading down here to my brand new stone deposit, which is no longer a deposit, it's completely empty. But that's alright. It managed to produce quite a few wall segments, as well as other things that I need, like stone bricks. I'm going to get some research sorted out here. Alright, now we're going to head back up here, and I'm going to, let's see, first of all, I need stuff to build the furnaces, the steel, the circuits, the stone brick, all that good stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and put a new column right about here. Let my bots do all the heavy lifting for me. But I do want to get this all upgraded to blue uh, uh, belts. And it would probably be a good idea to edit the blueprint to reflect that. However, this is unlike my other dual column furnace setup in that it is fed and puts the finished product out on the same end rather than being fed in from one side and the finished product going out the other. So I've got to do some finagling with the belts in order to get the blueprint to look right. But that's all taken care of. Just getting some power put in here. And I'm all out of substations. Need to go get some more steel. And that should do it right there. Okay, now it's just time to feed everything in. And we're just working out the spacing of various uh, areas of this. Is the steel bus is right next to the iron bus. So I need to have that moved over just a little bit here. It would end up something like that. I want to get these water pipes out of the way. They're just off by one tile. And then I'll go ahead and take this down because it is finished. And I'm gonna go ahead and clear out the path there. The main reason for this, of course, as you remember in the last episode, is that steel has become the bottleneck du jour, in that it wasn't producing enough steel, so there weren't enough blue science packs being produced, since that is one of the ingredients required for that. But everything should be okay after this. It's still not going to be a full belt output, but it is more than twice the amount of smelting that I had before, quite possibly even 3 times, maybe 2.5 times. I believe there's only 10 furnaces in that column, and I had 4 per column in the other ones. 250%, we'll say. In the meantime, another thing I wanted to do is go ahead and finally upgrade all of these belts to the express belts. It's just something that's sort of been bothering me for the last couple of episodes. So this is going to take a while. I'm going to end up eventually using up all of these belts in this endeavor. And here we go. Just getting all that worked out. All right. Now, while I'm doing this, let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that people have brought up on my channel. So it seems that all 3 of my viewers are recommending that I start using some mods, such as the autofill mod, for when I'm placing down turrets. It'll automatically put the ammunition into them that it requires, or so that's what I believe it does. I haven't actually looked this up yet. But people are wondering, why do I not use mods in this series? And the answer to that is that I don't have anything against mods. I do love installing mods in various games that I play. But in this series, creating the Mega Factory, I just kind of wanted the extra challenge of doing it in the vanilla availabilities, just whatever the developers happen to put out in each version. That's the tool set that I have at my disposal. And the main thing is that since there's so many experimental releases coming out right now, it's not ever guaranteed that a mod is going to be compatible with the new changes that are made. So I don't really want to have to fiddle around with all that sort of stuff. Perhaps in another series after this one, I've got some ideas for what I'd like to do in maybe another series down the line. And maybe in that one, I'll go ahead and look at getting some mods for my personal use, because it's not that like I said, I don't have anything against mods. I love the fact that they add stuff to it. I generally only use mods when there is something that is particularly frustrating or tedious, or it's just simply that there's not enough functionality in a certain aspect of the game. So we'll kind of see as time goes on whether or not that's going to eventually become necessary. But in the meantime, I will take a look at some mods in the future. But for right now, I'm just keeping this playthrough limited to the vanilla tool set. All right, so I'm over here upgrading the second station in the copper unloading section so that it's finally using the updated blueprint that I've got. Not that I really have a whole lot of copper trains running. I think I only have the one right now. And the last time I was over there, it did not look like it was outputting a whole lot of copper. So I'm going to have to go and take a look at that here in just a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm still working on upgrading all of these belts to the express belt. Just had to put in a few extra splitters there that I did not have in my inventory. And these top two main bus lines out of the copper were still on the fast belts, the red belts. So I'm going to go ahead and upgrade some of these with as many of the belts that I have in my inventory. There, I just ran out. I've been doing this a lot. I've been just running back and forth between here uh, and trying to deal with the fact that my inventory is still clogged up. Alright, that should give me enough of that. In the meantime, I want to go ahead and place down a few more radars. You saw me put down one earlier when I was messing around with the copper unloading station. Just trying to expand my view of what's going on in the world around me. And the next one that I want to put in is at the copper mine down here. And it's a good thing I came down here, because I had no idea that so many of these drills were dry. I mean, that's the main reason why the train has not been unloading a whole lot of copper whenever it comes back into the unloading station. It's just because so many of these drills are now empty. I'm going to have to do some reorganizing, some restructuring. There's a few more down there. I'm going to move on to the lower portion of what used to look sort of like a brain. And just going to go ahead and get all of that powered up. And whoops, there was one that still needed that one. Alright. It's getting powered, everything, and then just put it all down and get it all back up and running. Once again, this is just kind of a long and tedious process. Not tedious enough for mods. Let me just state that. When I say tedious, I don't necessarily mean that I don't enjoy it, because that's one of the things about Factorio is that in other games that I've played, when there is something that is tedious, I don't like doing it. But here in Factorio, it's not a problem. So it's actually kind of enjoyable. It's kind of the main point of the game. But as I was doing that, I noticed that there is some significant damage going on over here in my copper mine, or the copper smelting rather. A couple of biters and spitters were making an absolute mess of my belts, so I had to go over there and show them what for. And yeah, it turns out that there is a new biter nest right there, and right there, that's going to be causing some major problems for my factory. That is just too close for comfort. You've seen in the last couple of episodes where I do not allow these sorts of things to stand. So I'm going to go ahead and extend my defensive perimeter down into the southwest corner. Go ahead and get a few of those put down. But I don't have I don't have enough wall segments in my inventory to completely enclose the place. So I'm going to go and take care of some of that. In the meantime, I do need to put down some protection just in case that were to happen again. Just at least in the short term. Now it's time to head back up into the factory. Oh yeah, I was also in the middle of upgrading all of these belts, so I'm going to go ahead and do that first before I forget, and just leave the last little bit. As it is, there's a couple of tiles worth of belts there that I just did not have enough room for, or rather items in my inventory. So it's time to set some things down. Just checking on my oil. I need to get some coal because it's time to craft up some poison capsules so that I can take care of those big worms in a little bit more effective manner, so that I don't have to, wade into this and die like I've done in the last several episodes. All right, I'm just getting all my preparations made. And it's about time that I start researching more combat-related robotics materials, so that I can actually be a more formidable force against these large nests. All right. And I decide I'm going to start with this one that's a little farther north because it's a little smaller. I do believe I can take on these a little bit more pain-free. There's a lot of big worms in these nests now, so I'm gonna not take any chances like I have in the past. I'm gonna hop in my tank and deliver some poison capsules in there while the bands chase me back. All right, just finishing up the last couple of things there. Run over the spawners. I absolutely love doing that. Hop out of the tank, let it roll away. All right, everything there is finished. And time to move on to the southern one. I'm going to go ahead and start in from the top here. Give myself a little extra footing at the head of this column. The foot and head. Okay. And this is just almost a non-stop wave of biters coming at me there. It's a good thing I had 4 turrets down there instead of just the usual 2. That might have actually gotten overwhelmed, I don't know. Try not to step too far into the nest to attract all those biters, all the worms rather. As you can see, they're actually depleting my shields rather quickly and effectively. So here comes the tank again. Deliver some poison capsules down there. And finish off a couple of those spots there. Alright, that does it for that nest. It was a lot easier than I anticipated, all thanks to the tank and the poison capsules. I really should rely on them more often. At some point in the near future, my factory is going to include a military facility that will craft up all of poison capsules, the defenders, and all of those combat robots. In the meantime, just I'm going up here, checking out all my defenses, make sure everything's in order. Another thing that my 3 viewers have noticed is that when it gets dark, the YouTube compression makes it so it's nearly impossible to see, and I do happen to agree with that. I'm going to place down a bunch of lights around the area. There's some pretty strong attacks that have come into my iron unloading area, so that's something I'll have to go ahead and take care of. I'm just double checking all of my power output. And according to these charts, my accumulators are not even lasting through the evening, let alone the full night period. So I'm definitely going to need a lot more of those. And then I came up here to my coal outlet, outpost, that's the word I was looking for, and it is nearly depleted. Ever since I got the oil ramped up in the last episode, my plastic production has been back up and running up at full speed, and that has eliminated all of the coal reserves that it has up there. So that's going to need to be buffed up a little bit. And this is only a stopgap solution. I'm going to have to actually go out and find a new coal deposit and then set up a train line that will deliver it to the oil refinery. I do remember mentioning in the last episode that I was thinking about having a train stop in the oil refinery for dropping off various things and also maybe picking up the solid fuel so that it can be delivered to my unloading areas and refuel the trains. So that might be something that will become a reality here in the next couple of episodes. In the meantime, my steel junk box is full, so I have to put down another one and then load it up. There's some items in there that aren't actually junk. I just ended up with a whole lot of iron plates, more than I really need at the moment. We're dropping those off, and now I'm just going to stock up on an insane amount of solar panels and accumulators to go down and add on to my solar array. I want to make sure that I've got everything that I need. A couple of my construction bots were destroyed during those biter raids, so I'm going to go ahead and craft up a couple more. They take forever to craft up in my inventory, so I want to make sure that I'm not doing anything else that requires a whole lot of crafting while that happens. In the meantime, all of this in my stone deposit is complete. So just taking down a few of those machines so that they're not requiring excess electricity. And even when a machine sits idle, it's still drawing from the electrical grid to a small extent. At least that's the way I understand it. Please let me know if I'm wrong about that, as I have been on many other issues. So I'm going to go down here and put down a few more iterations of my solar arrays and get this defensive wall out of the way. I'm beginning to think that the wall along the northern rim of my solar array is becoming increasingly unnecessary. What I'm actually going to want to do is just defend the sides and then not worry about it. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and take all these wall segments out because it's close enough to the rest of the factory. It's going to uh, benefit from the defenses I put up there. And now there's another biter nest right over here. I know that's kind of hard to see because it's at night, but here comes the sun. Do 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 do. And so I'm going to go ahead and clear this nest out of the way as well. It shouldn't be too difficult now that I actually have better equipment with which to deal with them. Just use my flamethrower to take out a few spawners there and a couple of worms. It really makes short work of them. If you actually can survive a few direct hits from the big worms, this is actually the best way to deal with them, or so it seems. But of course, the big if there is whether or not you can survive the attack, their initial wave of attacks against you. All right, since that should be enough to clear. Oh wait, there's another nest down here. We'll hold that thought for just a moment. This one only has a single spawner, but a couple of big worms around the outside of it. I'm going to hit it with some poison capsules instead. Wait for that to go down. There we go. That should do it. Wait for that poison cloud to disappear. I'm not sure if that actually hurts me. I don't think it does, but I don't want to really take too many chances when you're dealing with a whole bunch of biters that are ready to come on the attack for you. Now, since I've cleared out all of these bases, I want to claim this territory as mine. And since victory polls don't work anymore, I'm just going to have to enclose the entire area within my defensive perimeter. But hey, challenge accepted. And here we go. Getting all that walled in there. Corners up right against that big stone there. Wall all that in. And I want to make sure that these get lined up properly. So I go ahead and put down some of my blueprinted defenses. And I've run out of laser turrets in my inventory, and a couple of these new ones have been greeted by a few biters as they came along. So I want to go ahead and put some ammunition in them while I'm working. Turns out that is just about a perfect amount of space. I never really paid much attention to the spacing for the turrets around the solar array, and I can get rid of this wall entirely. While I'm up here, I'm going to go back in and pick up some of those laser turrets, as well as some more ammunition for the gun turrets. And I am also going to need some what are they called? The substations. I just keep forgetting my entire vocabulary. I'm losing my perspicacity. Alright, and then I run out of inventory space on that again. Saw me get a little frustrated with the mouse cursor. And another thing that I want to do is I want to have some space here between these two, just in case in the future I want to run a train track line down into the southern area, because there is a nice copper deposit right down here. So that might be a good thing to have. So there we go. The bots are putting down those missing laser turrets. I'm going to continue building my defensive perimeter back up to the smelting area. Get everything spaced out properly there, and I am one tile away from my normal thing. That is something I can live with. Just place down all these substations to get the laser turrets working. I decided to abandon the way that I was doing it on the northern part of the wall, where they were spaced right behind each laser turret, because that ultimately is just kind of a waste of space, and it's so much easier to just plop them down in a run like that. So that way I also don't have to modify my blueprint. Not that it would have been a whole lot of work to do that. It was just adding one additional item. I have enough ammunition for all but two of those turrets. I'll have to remember to go back down in there and finish up those last two. But in the meantime, we are at the end of today's episode. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Azrael. Never stop building.